Good afternoon. I don't know, Mr. President, I seem to be getting shorter and you're getting taller. Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of Congress, distinguished guests. I'm honored to welcome all of you here today. Never before has a president joined with such an impressive group of advocates in the fight to keep tobacco away from our children. That's a testament to the president's commitment, and something tells me a picture that Congressman Mike Sinar would have liked. Mike Sinar was larger than life, not just because he was funny, but because he was tough, courageous, and determined to save America's children from a deadly enemy, tobacco. Now, thanks to the extraordinary leadership of the president, that goal is getting the national attention that it deserves. As you know, we don't have a minute to spare. Tobacco is the #1 cause of preventable death in this country. 80% of all adult smokers light up that first cigarette before their 18th birthday. We're not talking about an innocent habit. We're talking about a pediatric disease that must be stopped. Our goal is to reduce smoking among children and adolescents by 50% within 7 years. To do that, the president has proposed some of the boldest public health proposals this country has ever seen. Proposals that put power back into parents' hands where it belongs. But as you well know, government can't meet this challenge alone, and we shouldn't ever try. And that's why this event is so important. Stopping tobacco use by children is going to take all of us working together, community by community, block by block, parent by parent, child by child. It's going to take the vision of Smoke-Free Class of 2000, a national project of the American Cancer Society, the American Heart Association, and the American Lung Association, to make the class of 2000 the first ever not to graduate a single smoker. All over the country, these young people are testifying before their state legislatures, organizing letter-writing campaigns, and educating their classmates about the danger of smoking. We're very pleased that 16 of these students are here today, all of whom represent their states as Smoke-Free Class Youth Ambassadors. And I'd like to ask the students and Gail Joyce, the National Project Director, to stand. Thank you. It's also going to take the determination of the American Academy of Pediatrics, doctors of passion and compassion that are going right into our schools to talk about the dangers of tobacco. Last November, I saw firsthand what the AAP is doing when we visited together a middle school in Philadelphia. The children exchanged anything they had with a tobacco company logo for a T-shirt with an anti-tobacco message. As always, the children got the better end of the deal. I'd like to ask AAP's past president, Dr. George Kamertzi, to stand. George, where are you? Thank you. Thanks to you and all the pediatricians around the country. It's also going to take Scholastic Inc.'s power with words and images, a power I saw firsthand when I did a Scholastic Network online chat to give children the anti-smoking information that they need. Last year, Scholastic's strong anti-tobacco messages reached 8 million young people. And later this year, they're going to launch a new magazine to bring even more information about good health into the classrooms in this country. I'm pleased that Richard Delano is here representing Scholastic today, and I'd like to ask him to stand. Richard, thank you. It's also going to take the energy of the 35,000 children who, with the help from Action on Smoking and Health, wrote letters to the president about his tobacco proposals. These 35,000 letters, which are now a part of the FDA record, represent the largest filing in American history ever made by children. 3 of them are here today, and I'd like to ask them and ASH's director, Professor John Bonshoff, to stand. Quite simply, it's going to take every one of us working together and using the power of our love for young people to protect this and every generation from a lifetime of addiction. And we will do it in the name of Mike Synar, with the leadership of President Clinton, for the future of our children. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now I'm very pleased to introduce Jacqueline McLeod, who, on behalf of all the organizations here today, wants to recognize the President's leadership. Having started as a volunteer, Jackie now leads the American Lung Association, an organization that has for decades fought to keep all Americans breathing clean. She's a public health expert, an educator, and a humanitarian. Jackie?
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Secretary Shalala. As Secretary Shalala indicated, I am Jacqueline McLeod, President of the American Lung Association. I'm also delighted to be here today on behalf of the American Cancer Society, the American Heart Association, united as the Coalition on Smoking or Health, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, and the exceptional number of diverse groups who have joined together in support of your initiatives to reduce tobacco use among children. Mr. President, your initiative have brought together this unprecedented coalition of organizations working hard to see that your proposal becomes reality tomorrow. We're all very indebted to you for having the courage and the foresight to stand up to the tobacco industry in defense of our nation's children. No president in the history of the United States have ever been willing to confront the tobacco industry, and no president has ever before produced an initiative with the potential to help more children than the tobacco proposal that you have launched with the able assistance of Secretary Shalala and Commissioner Kessler. As you know, Mr. President, this January, we all lost a very special servant, former Congressman Mike Synar of Oklahoma. Mike fought tirelessly to limit tobacco marketing to children. He cared enough about this issue to risk his job fighting for it. He demonstrated the same courage and leadership that you are doing at this time. Therefore, it is a great honor on behalf of the Coalition on Smoking or Health to present to you the first Mike Synar National Public Service Award, and to thank you on behalf of the Coalition, the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, and every organization that is represented here. With your leadership, we can all make a difference. We have never been more united, more determined, and our pledge to you is that we will work together, the Coalition, the National Center for Tobacco-Free Kids, which is the newly created non-governmental organization to protect children from tobacco addiction, and every organization that is represented here today, to be the foot soldiers in the battle on behalf of those children. With us to help present the award is Mike Synar's brother, Alan, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Alan Synar to you today.
Thank you all for this honor and privilege to be here today. The naming of this distinguished award after my brother Mike is deeply felt and appreciated by myself and my entire family. It is nice to know that Mike was in good company in working with all of you and the good causes for which you fight. I think it was people and organizations like you that gave Mike the strength to fight the battles. Mike always believed if you were right, it was worth fighting for, even if you got bruised once in a while. And in the tobacco battle, bruises were everywhere. If Mike were here today and saw what has transpired over the last week and a half, I am confident that he would be chomping at the bit, ready to roll up his sleeves and take on this fight. But we're not here today to speak of Mike Siner. We're here to honor the President of the United States for doing what no president before him was willing or able to do: to take on the tobacco industry, their political and economic muscles, and put the health of this nation's children above the profits of the tobacco industry. Mr. President, your decisions and your actions changed forever the manner in which our society will deal with the irresponsible marketing of a deadly product by the tobacco companies. No single action will be such a profound and significant impact on this nation's health than the action you took, Mr. President, on August 14th. Mr. President, I am glad that Mike was around to see your important decision. He would be proud of you for continuing your commitment to this nation's children. Mr. President, as a personal note, it is only befitting that you are the first recipient of this award. Mike cherished yours and Mrs. Clinton's friendship. He admired your personal courage, your commitment, and your compassion, not only for tobacco issues, but for your leadership for our country. Mr. President, my family sincerely appreciates all that you have done for us, your calls to my brother, and your visit to him at the hospital. We will never forget your eulogy. Mr. President, on behalf of millions of the nation's children who now have renewed hope for a healthy future, on behalf of the Coalition on Smoking or Health, on behalf of a very grateful Siner family, and on behalf of a wonderful brother, it is my honor to present to you the first Mike Siner National Public Service Award. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, and I want to thank the Lung Association, the Heart Association, the Cancer Society, all the physicians who are here today with the various medical groups. Dr. Bristow, it's good to see you, and I thank all of you for being here. I thank Secretary Shalala and Commissioner Kessler and CDC Director David Satcher for their leadership. I want to thank someone who is not here, but who had a lot to do with this effort. I thank the Vice President who lost his own beloved sister to lung cancer for his strength and leadership in this endeavor. Normally, I don't think the people of America should give the President an award for anything, because the President's job is award enough. It is an uncommon gift with a great responsibility. But tell you the truth, I'm kind of tickled about this today. Because I admired and indeed I loved Mike Siner very much. He was a good man and a brave man who gave the rest of us a great deal of energy and hope and direction. And our country could do with a few more like him. People that just rear back and stand up and do the right thing, and if it doesn't work out, they just laugh and go on. And don't expect any kind of a blue ribbon or reward at the end of the day. When I gave the State of the Union address and spoke about the challenges facing our country as we move into the next century, I said, and I repeat, that our first challenge, not the government, the people's first challenge, is to strengthen our families and cherish all our children and give every single one of our young people the childhood that he or she deserves. One of the most important things we can do in meeting that challenge is to protect our children from what is rapidly becoming the single greatest threat to their health: cigarette smoking and tobacco addiction. This is, like other challenges, as Secretary Shalala so eloquently said, a challenge we have to meet together. To be sure, government has a role to play. I want to acknowledge the presence of two other members of Congress here today who stood shoulder to shoulder with Mike Siner, our good friend Congressman Dick Durbin from Illinois, who won his primary for the United States Senate last night. Congratulations, Dick. It is a measure of his commitment to the issue that I talked to him after midnight his time last night, but he suited up and showed up here today anyway. We thank you. And Congressman Marty Meehan from Massachusetts, thank you, sir, for being here and for your good work here as well. I thank the parents of America who have become increasingly sensitive to this issue and are working hard to teach their children. I thank the young people here who are working hard to reach out to their peers and who often can have more influence on their peers than their parents or the president. I thank the athletes and the entertainers who are committed to being role models, the businesses who control access to tobacco products, the teachers, the coaching, the advertising executives. I thank the healthcare professionals and the volunteers. Because of this great sea of people in America, what was once the work of a few lonely activists has grown into a national movement to protect the health and the future of our children. 3,000 young people start to smoke every day, and 1,000 of them will have their lives shortened as a result. It seems to me that as president, if I say that what I really want is for every American child who is willing to work for it to have his or her shot at the American dream, that cannot be done unless we first of all try to guarantee them the existence and the health necessary to pursue their dreams. And that is also what the rest of us must do. We have, as all of you know, proposed ways to crack down on advertising that tells young people smoking is cool. We propose ways to make it harder for children and teenagers to buy cigarettes by reducing their access to vending machines and free samples. We issued the Siner regulation in January to demand that states, in return for the federal money they received, do more to enforce their own laws against the sale of tobacco to minors. It's worth noting here that it is illegal in every single state of the union to sell any form of tobacco to minors. We're working closely with state governments to ensure that the Siner regulations are implemented quickly and decisively, and I have to say that so far, the results on that front have been quite encouraging to me. All of you I want to thank for supporting these efforts. All of you who have been fighting for a long time are now working to bring your experience in new ways to bear on this effort through the National Center for Tobacco-Free Kids. And I want to welcome especially some of the people in this room who are new to the struggle in this effort, but who can make all the difference. First, let me say I'm very glad to announce that two groups of America's athletes, heroes to so many young people, have come forward to help. Young women in particular are bombarded with billboards which suggest that smoking is cool and glamorous and a good way to stay thin. The women of the U.S. national soccer team know better. This spring and this summer, they are going to make America proud when they compete in the Olympics. And just when thousands of young girls around the country are looking up to them, they are going to make it clear that smoking is not cool. Working with the federal government, they've launched a major promotional advertisement effort called Smoke-Free Kids and Soccer. The effort, including television advertising, will be centered around the team's matches all across our country leading up to the Olympics in Atlanta this summer. It will make a real difference in people's lives. And two members of that team are here today. I'd like for them to stand and be recognized. Thank you very much. Thank you. Former Major League Baseball players Joe Garagiola and Bill Tuttle, along with Mrs. Tuttle, have stepped up to the plate to help get spit tobacco out of baseball. As leaders of the National Spit Tobacco Education Campaign, they're working to educate players about the dangers and to help protect the health of young fans who look up to them. In fact, they've just come back from a trip down to spring training in Florida, where they met with team owners and the Players Union, and they are making some very impressive progress as well. I want to ask Joe and Bill and Mrs. Tuttle to stand, and I want to thank them. Thank you so much. And God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to thank some businesses who are doing their part. Businesses, of course, have a right to sell cigarettes to adults, but they also have a responsibility, a legal one and a moral one, to prevent cigarette sales to minors. I'm very proud and happy to announce that major United States supermarket chains are taking decisive steps to curtail the sale of cigarettes and tobacco to young people. A&P Company, Giant Food, and Pratt's Supermarkets are instituting mandatory training of all their cashiers to ensure that they know the law and understand their obligations to enforce it. That means requiring identification from all young people who seek to buy cigarettes. In July, A&P Chairman James Wood will recommend to the Board of Directors that A&P discontinue the use of all vending machines by the end of the year. Giant is going to eliminate vending machines in all stores except for their 24-hour stores. Pratt's doesn't allow any cigarette vending machines at all. And in the meantime, A&P and Giant are converting their vending machines so they only operate with tokens that must be purchased from a cashier. I urge every supermarket chain and every individual grocery store in America to follow the lead of these three companies and shut down tobacco sales to minors. I'd like to ask the people here from those companies to stand and be recognized today. Thank you very much. Bless you. And let me just say one other thing about them. You know, I spend a great deal of my time as your president trying to find ways to both generate more jobs for America and to help American businesses make more money, because both those things are very good for our country. I'm proud of the fact that our country has produced in the last 3 years 8.4 million new jobs, and unlike the past 15 years, almost all of these jobs have been created in the private sector as we have downsized the government. Therefore, any president and any citizen must think seriously before we ask a business to do something that will cost it money. This decision cost these people money, and they did it because it was the right thing to do for America, and I thank you for that very much. I want to thank all the activists who are here in the room who have been recognized and those of you who have not. And especially I'd like to say a word of thanks to the former employees of tobacco companies who have stood up to tell the world the truth. And I want to recognize one in particular, the late Victor Crawford, whose wife Linda is here today. He was a great champion for our children. We miss him today. We wish he were here, and we know he's smiling down at us. Thank you, Linda, for being here, and God bless you. Thank you. My friends, we have come a long way in this endeavor. Indeed, a long way since our administration made the first announcement about our efforts to reduce tobacco advertising and tobacco sales to young people. Now we have supermarket chains, athletes, workers, private citizens who have recognized the threat tobacco poses. And this movement is producing results. Just last week, there was a major breakthrough when Liggett agreed to settle its lawsuits. It became the very first tobacco company to acknowledge that tobacco can be deadly. This is the first crack in the stone wall of denial. My message to other tobacco companies is therefore simple and direct. Take responsibility. Sell to adults, but draw the line on children. I'm happy that Liggett has also agreed to begin changing their own advertising practices so that they have less influence over young people. That's a good start. And now I want them and the other tobacco companies to go the distance. If selling cigarettes to minors is illegal, no good corporate citizen should be aiming advertising at those minors. My fellow Americans, we can win this fight. We can save countless lives of our young people. We can give them the future that we imagine when we look into the bright faces of these children who are here. But we have to do it together. It is folly to pretend that any one of us, including the President, can do it alone. When he graduated from high school in 1968, Mike Siner called on his classmates to, quote, stand and be counted when the occasion arises. Well, he always did. This occasion requires us to do it for him, and I am honored that we can do it in his name. Thank you, and God bless you all.